Alright, so I'm here to help you guys find the Matrix and to figure out the old world, the Titarian world, or whatever you want to call it. And I could tell you for a fact that there's no way that they could have built the stuff that they built in the time frame that they did. And not only that, these buildings are high quality construction, and they were all done by hand, horse, shovel, and pick. And you have to really consider that at the time. I mean, when you watch a lot of Old West stuff, one of the things you might want to watch is Hell on Wheels. It shows you what the life was like in 1860 to come across to build the continental U.S. And I've shown in my page before where I found loopholes in that. And so one of the things I did to try to make this as easy as possible is I've collected everything I can and I've put it into my drive and shown you guys like what was the impossible build. One of the greatest things that I found is the Sunborn maps. Those were actually key to all of this. And so you could go into my drive and go through all of the Sunborn maps that I have. The one I haven't collected on is Denver, and I'm going to start working on that one today. And what I'm trying to help you guys understand is that why Pueblo's being built, Denver's being built, Colorado Springs is being built, Trinidad's being built, Canyon City is being built. So Canyon City is over here. Colorado City. Now here's an interesting fact that most people don't know is that Colorado Springs used to be called Colorado City. And I pointed that out too, that Colorado Springs and Denver both have not grown that much. And so what I have is one of the Sunborn maps of 1893 is this one. And the way to understand how to read these maps is that each one of these highlighted areas, you can go and find the page number and it'll take you to that in my drive. Now what I want to tell you is that these maps have been split up and diluted, and one of the things that you'll find is that history is definitely not clear on any of this stuff. I'm going to go back. So right here is one of Pueblo on the south side of Pueblo. It covers this entire block. Now I also want you to understand that they laid out this entire city all by 1900. And I have a couple other maps that'll back this up. So when you go into this, this is a map of Denver in 1893. And so here in this map, it only shows this highlighted area. And this is down on Colfax where Race Street is. Here's where 5 Points is. And if you blow it back out, you can see the massive construction that they did for Denver, Colorado. At the same time, like I said, all of this is being built. And so what I'm going to try to do is help you guys understand the Matrix. Now around Colorado, Pueblo, there's nothing but desert and shell rock. There's no stone or anywhere. The closest you're going to get to stone is when you go to Canyon City. And that's the granite that they have in the mountains. One of the interesting things I found was up here in Colorado Springs. If you go up in here into this Red Rocks area, this is where they actually cut a bunch of the stone out. And we'll zoom in down there. So this right here, when you actually go to the park, let's move a little bit. This is where they cut all the stone out in order to build a lot of churches, the Union Depot, and a lot of buildings in Colorado Springs and Denver as well. And so what I want to show you guys is where I found the information that I needed to put this all together. So here, this gives an information from 1870 to 1889. Santa Fe Union had developed a reputation of a young Pueblo street of commerce. In the years 1889 and 1890 were the years of the block in Pueblo, whether spurred on by competition of the Grand Opera House or the rising amounts of capital managed by a city. So this is one of the other things that I point out that a lot of people don't understand is when you're looking at this stuff, you also have to think about all the financial economic crashes that they had. It was like every 10 years they had a major crash. And that's where I'm trying to help you guys understand, where did Colorado get all the money? Where did the rest of the United States get all the money in order to build these grand structures of stone? And one of the things you need to look up is the history of the Chicago World Fair, the Paris World Fair, San Diego exhibits. All of these places have the Roman style architecture that is found all over the world. So we're going to exit this, and I'm going to take you guys down. And what I wanted to show you guys is where they actually used this red rock. I'm going to take you down into Pueblo, and I'm going to show you a couple of buildings. So down here in Pueblo, I'm going to take you to one of the churches, and all of this stuff was built by the 1900s. So within 30 years of becoming a one-horse town, they built this largest steel mill east of the Mississippi, smelting capital of the world, and a lot of this just gets absolutely, the more and more you look at it, the more and more absurd it is. So if you come down here into Pueblo, Colorado, and I'm going to take you guys to where the courthouse is, and the reason why I'm taking you where the courthouse is because there's a church that was built out of that red brick. Take the little guy, we'll send him on down. So this church was actually built out of the stone from that cut up in Colorado Springs. And we'll exit out of this. And we'll go to the train depot that was built in 1890. And it was also built out of that red brick that came from Colorado Springs. Now, here's what a lot of people don't understand is a lot of this buildings were destroyed, but Pueblo was like a time capsule. And you can see the red brick from that area. So we'll exit out of this. And so here's one of the other things I want to show you guys is how they were able to make Pueblo grow as fast as it did, is that they annexed stuff. Now, Mineral Palace wasn't built till 1891. In 1871, they actually had Mineral Palace Park. And we'll zoom out. I'll take you to Mineral Palace Park, and I'm going to show you guys the massive infrastructure that they had. Now, you have to remember, they put in all the sewer systems. They had all the electrical done. They had all the plumbing done. They had all the streets paved, all by 1910. I mean, this is the fastest construction I've ever seen in my life, and I've done a lot of construction, so I know what I'm talking about. Especially when you're building buildings today, that you have to understand that there's blueprints in order to read, and what those blueprints don't cover changes into RFIs and change orders because they didn't inspect or anticipate what they thought was going to actually happen. So Mineral Palace Park is clear over here. By 1871, they had already laid out Mineral Palace Park and a bunch of other stuff. And what they did is they annexed it to bring it into Pueblo to show the numbers growing. Because if Pueblo would have had all these different towns with these huge populations, they would have never been able to cover up their story. And so the steel mill east of the Mississippi was the largest. And you can watch in the PBS special and it'll show you. Now you have to understand that this plant has been taken down from what it used to be. And here's a picture of it. And I could tell you that this is before 1920 or 1940 because the highway had came in by then. And you could see this massive steel plant that they created in the middle of the desert. Now, one of the things you need to understand is, like, in 1882, when all these companies merged to form this plant, where did they get all the steel from in order to make all of this? And then not only that, where did they get all the steel in order to make all the buildings that are brick with steel reinforced beams? And now the crazy thing is you can actually go into the Sunborn maps and they will actually tell you what the buildings were actually made out of and the material that they used. Pueblo was also one of the largest, it was actually the largest capital of the world for smelting. Now you have to understand, they built 5 smelting plants all by 1885. Massive, massive. And you can do an image search on Google and you can reverse image look these up. It would be the easiest way. You can go into my drive and go through all of it. Now, one of the other things is they had the largest brick plant in 1891. And that brick plant was actually right here. And if you go in the Sunborn maps, it'll show you where exactly everything is. And what I'm trying to tell you is you need to use these for where you lived. And I've noticed a lot of these are destroyed for major cities all the way up to about 1880, 1890. There's nothing on it. But around 1900, 1920, you could start to find on major cities. And I know that they took these up and split them up, and they're not complete sets. So the largest brick plant was actually right here. And if you go over into my Google Drive, one of the other things I left was the maps that I found that say 1907. And here's both of them. Both of these are claiming to be 1907 maps, but this one is a later version. And I'll tell you why. Is because when I was looking at this, I seen CF&I, and you can see a fully massive plant right here. And then this one, it's not. So there was two different plants. There was also a huge smelting plant, and if you go over here to this one, you can look in here and you can see CF&I. Now remember, these are all train tracks, so they had to do the engineering on the train because it was the only way into Pueblo. And then two, if you see there's a one line, that is for the trolley system that they use. They had 35 miles of electric trolley. They also built City Park, and they built all the smelting plants, all in record time by cowboys. Here's a picture of Pueblo, Colorado at the flood. And you can see a smelting plant, and CF&I back over here. All of these stone brick buildings were all built in place. And so when you go over to my page, I've been trying to show you guys how to look this up for yourselves and to put this together. St. Marie Corwin. I mean, all of this is just these grand structures that were built. Mineral Palace, this is the one I'm talking about. So this was in 1891 is when this was done. But in 1871, they incorporated the park. Now to me, it doesn't look like there's a park around. It shows a building out in the middle of nowhere. And you'll notice between photographs and stuff the changes, not only in the color of paint, but in the building. And you have to remember, these are well-crafted buildings. So instead of trying to drag you through my drive because it's a little bit hard, I'm going to actually take you guys, I'm going to use my pictures that I have on this. Okay, so we're going to go up to Mineral Palace Park. And you have to understand, this is a grand architect that they did. This is absolutely breathtaking what they actually accomplished. So you can see the detail in this. This is not something run-of-the-mill put together by cowboys. This took a lot of art and craftsmanship, all done by hand. Here's a picture of it outside. This will give you an idea of what time it is. It's about in the 1900s early. And you can see that they've actually painted the building white. They got rid of the awning and they planted a bunch of trees. Here's what the park looks like. And I can't give you a date on this, but you can see that the building is white. So it's after they painted the building. Here's one of the earlier ones. And what I want to show you guys, the grand detail and how well this is constructed. In the beginning, they had an awning with the fence around it, and later on they took that out. And each side of the corners was held up by a globe pillar. I mean, when do you find construction guys to even build anything close to this today? We don't. We use glass and concrete. Here's another picture of Mineral Palace Park with it all filled in. Here's the inside of it. Supposedly it was 3 stories high. And you can see these magnificent domes. They had a stage. They also had the Silver Queen, which was solid silver that came out of Aspen. It was donated, and this also ties into Chicago World Fair because Colorado donated that for an exhibit, and then not only that, they had the King Cole, which was out of Trinidad, Colorado. And this was a magnificent park. Here's a picture of the stage and the dome that they created. You have to understand the artwork that is entailed in this. Grand pillars. So if you come down here, all of these glass cases were filled with minerals from all over Colorado. And you can see that this is just a massive structure, well detailed, beautiful layout. In 1891, Cowboys built this. Oh, that's right. I have to go to the next picture. It won't let me do it. Here's a picture of the Silver Queen. Here's a picture of King Cole. This was supposedly solid silver with gems on it, and it magically disappeared one night. There's another picture of it. So they had Lake Claire at Minnequaw, our Mineral Palace, and then not only that, they had Minnequaw Palace. I mean, where did you get the construction guys to do this? And just to think about that, all the scaffolding and everything that they had to use. They had no lifts or any scissor lifts or anything like that. And this is after she was stolen. And then I also like how they scratch out stuff on this. So that's another indication that somebody's altered history. And the sooner we all come together on this is one thing that could bring world peace. And one last one I wanted to show you is, here's another picture of how big this park was. Back here, you can barely see the roof line. A massive, massive park that they built. Cowboys, 1891, reminds you. And then not only that, all the discrepancies with the 3 courthouses, the 2 Centennial High Schools, the 2 Central High Schools. I mean, it doesn't add up to all of this, what they built in the record time. And then the sane asylums. Let's go down and see. Sane asylums, built in 1883, massive. I guess that was short-lived. Wonder what's going on. Alright. There's always something that's a hiccup. So let's do this. I'll pull up the pictures again. And we'll go through the insane asylum. I passed it out, must have. There it is. Okay, so they built these massive... I thought I deleted that one. So they built these massive stone castles for the insane. And I can't remember, I have to look it up. I think it said in 1879 they had 11 patients. So you built all of this for 11 patients. Massive stone structures, and then all of these are like hidden behind trees and stuff. I mean, but they built massive stone structures. And what's the thing is and they built these, I believe, in the 1930s. This was the replacement. So they went through and bulldozed it all down, and then built these brick buildings more like a prison. But in the beginning, they were castles, and I'm wondering if they were a purpose for something else. And another thing is, you look at these buildings, they're actually used for prisons too. And so when you start putting all this together and start really looking at it and understanding what they actually built in record time. So they built the first one in 1883, and 1887 I believe they built the second one for or 1888 is when they built the female version. And so for an insane asylum, why would you build castles like you did? And then not only that, why would you build massive sane asylum when there were sane asylums in every town except for Pueblo, Colorado had the most? The Union Depot, All the train tracks, everything, you have to understand, all of this was done by 1900. Within 30 years, they built this entire city. Largest steel mill, smelting. They even had a brewery. I mean, you couldn't make this up if you wanted to. City Park was another one that was built. This is the key to the Matrix. All you guys need to do is your own research on this, and you're going to find the loopholes if you actually look for them. And so on my page, I've tried to actually cover this. I didn't know what I was really going to do with it, but this is what I've done with it. I've turned it into this, and it covers political, yes, but this is the world we live in. We are living in a world that is on turmoil right now, and it's always been, but now we're at the highest stakes ever. I was never able to fight for my country because I believed in God, and I believe God would not pick a side of a country. But I do believe God would pick a side of the whole world in order to save it. And whatever he had to do, he would do. So please go through my page and look at it. And this is one of the things you have to understand. This picture was in 1881. This is down on Santa Fe. And this was done... let's see, let's go to Santa Fe. So Santa Fe is this street right here that runs all the way into CF&I. So that picture was taken somewhere down on 2nd Street because they like to always take that picture on the hill, which is right there. So they took a picture of it going back, and you can see CF&I in the background. If you go into my drive, you'll be able to see them better. Let's see, let's go in there. Santa Fe. And here's that picture of... That's not what I want. 1881. And this is just on Santa Fe. You can see that CF&I is already up and running. In 1881, they came together in 1879 to build the plant, and by 1882 it was built. One of the largest steel mills east of the Mississippi. And this is just on Santa Fe. This doesn't cover the entire ridge back here. And not only this, they're building all of these stone houses. Think about that for a minute. How much time it would actually take to come in, build a building, tear it down, and then build a new one, all within 30 years. Plus putting all the plumbing, electrical, sewer systems, paved roads, everything. I'm telling you, this is magic construction, and we've been here a lot longer than anyone has thought. Let's see, where else can we go with this? If you guys go in through my maps, these Sunborn maps are going to show you the layout of the city. Here's another picture of Santa Fe. Or actually, this one's not down in Santa Fe. I know where this one's at. This is on the crossroads between like Union and Main Street, where they have the trains actually running through. You have to understand, they had, if you watch the PBS special on this, you listen to what I'm telling you, and you start to understand, they had a hanging tree down on Pueblo. In 1883, it was cut down. And this is it. So they cut this tree down in 1883 and then built Union Street to look like this, all within 30 years. Where did they get all the materials from? Where did they get the engineers? Where did they get the contractors? Where did they get the skilled labor in order to build all this? Because this is, and you could see the amount of lights that they have up already. I mean, this right here, you can see it. These are festoon lights right there. I mean, you have to really think about all the time it would take. And then these lines right here are the skeletons for the 35 miles of electric trolley system that they had all built by 1900s. So I'll keep making videos and I'll keep trying to help people understand this, but I mean, you have to really think about this. Here's a picture of Santa Fe, or at least whenever one of these pictures I got said that this was on Santa Fe. So within 30 years, they made all these wood buildings. Where did they get all the wood from? That's the other thing that nobody understands, is that not only they had to bring in all the material by train, and so while Pueblo is being built, Springs is being built, Denver's being built, plus all of the mining in Colorado, because Colorado was set up as a mining state. That's why it was so rich. So if you like these videos, I'm going to keep making them and try to explain this as best I can, but I'm trying to explain all of the years that it took me to have experience to understand what I was looking at, to be able to piece this together, to show people there's no way you could have built this all in the time frame that they're talking about. 30 years to build this entire city with all the plumbing, electrical, sewer lines, paved streets, 35 miles of electric trolley, largest steel mill east of the Mississippi, 5 smelting plants, which was the capital of the world. They had the largest brick plant in the United States. All of this was record time built in 30 years. There's no way. There's absolutely no way they could have built all of this. So, leave it at that, and I just don't know what anyone's looking for in order to put this together. I would like to find people that have done the research on the Titerian world or the mud flood or the Great Reset, and actually speak with them about it and show them what I found, and have them find it in their area, because the details are in the devil, and let me tell you, the devil has been busy.